So, with the current state of the world, I understand that people are probably most interested in large media to distract themselves from the world ending. I understand. I'm watching all of the Degrassi shows. One of them has 14 seasons. But I do think that smaller titles still deserve attention and stuff. So because of this, I'm gonna do another flash fiction just about a bunch of little games that you should play. And not all of them are little in the sense that you can do all of their content in a short amount of time, but most of them do have short play sessions or a small amount of main story content and stuff like that. Okay? Okay, let's go. Hyperfight is another simplistic fighting game, similar to Dive Kick, although it's a little bit more complex than that. All things in this game are related to the top bar. It's your win condition, you use it for some attacks, and everyone dies in one hit. This leaves space for a few cool characters, like a guy that throws cards and is definitely a JoJo's reference, or a scientist frog that creates orbs, kicks it around like a soccer ball, and is annoying and bad to fight against, and a yo-yo kid. It's a good game. Hypno is a really good game that I use to de-stress sometimes. It's a little procedurally generated platformer where you just keep going through levels until you fall into the water and have to start over. It's good if you have a few minutes or a few hours to kill, really. An expansion pack that's going to add combat is coming out towards the end of the summer, and you know what? I'm excited to see what it adds. An extremely impactful game about losing a person that you love. There's not too much I want to say here, except that it's made me tear up, and pieces of me to rarely bring me to tears. It's genuinely one of my favorite games ever, and I don't bring that up lightly. I'm very indecisive. It's very good. Go play it. Be sure to heed the trigger warnings, though. Gunpoint's a game where you jump around and hack things. It has a bunch of different levels where you do that and gain more abilities along the way. In between these gameplay segments is like a little story that's told by text snippets. It took me 3 hours to play all the way through the first time, and it's well worth the time commitment. Be Gay Do Crime is a one-page tabletop RPG that I've never played, but I do want to play one day, and it looks cool. It's a heist game where you have a role, the muscle, the hack to the face, etc., and 2 stats: gay to seduce and acrobatics, and criminal with lockpicking or sneaking and stuff. When you act, you have to roll and get less than that stat. However, something that's even more interesting is the crush system. When you start, you randomly get a crush on 1 or 2 people. As your stats increase, if your gay reaches 6, you immediately confess and run away. It's would be really fun to roleplay and stuff. It would be so interesting. Death Road to Canada is 1 part Oregon Trail with zombies, 1 part beat 'em up scavenging game, and 1 part D&D skill checks, 1 part roguelike. And I like all of those things, so it's real good. And you can make people you actually know in the game, which I always like. You're smack dab in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and the only place that's not overrun by zombies is Canada. And the whole point of the game is to get to Canada. If that's not enough to pique your interest, then this game is probably not for you. But if it is, you'll love it. It's a skiing game. It's just a good skiing game. It's a little skiing game. I'm not good at it, but you might be good at it. There's not much to say about it. If you liked ski-free and or physics games, check this one out. It's your traditional RPG, but it takes place completely in desktop windows. Your map is a window, fights are all windows, your inventory is a window, your quests are a window. It's an interesting gimmick. However, the coolest thing about it for me is how certain things like combat, like darts and arrows, are in windows that fly across the screen, and you have to click the X within a few seconds, and if you don't, the attack hits you. That's so cool. My mom's blown when it happens the first time. Plus, it adds a stressful part of combat, because when you see that going across the screen, you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's really good. Rainworld is a flawed game. It's way too obtuse, and I often don't know what's happening or where to go. I don't know where to go ever when I'm playing it, and it's really hard to make any progress. That being said, the way the creatures interact is really cool, and I've always liked using those to my advantage in this game, whether it's this game or Breath of the Wild. Also, physics-based animations are really on point. Plus, the scared little creature atmosphere that they were going for really hits. Shout out to people who saw my Rainworld video where I almost cried out of fear. Y'all know, y'all the real ones. So I guess it's a recommendation for this game, but it's a hesitant recommendation. Relic Contra Zero is a completely free dual stick shooter. I guess I play it on computer. It looks great and feels great to play. Has a mechanic to simulate a nuclear throne, where there's different ammo types for different guns, and you have some unlockable character classes that you can play for a while and see new things. It's not very innovative, but it's still pretty great. Super House of Dead Ninjas is a roguelike platformer where you have to kill a bunch of zombies and you gotta kill them fast. The timer ticks down from 35 and you have to continually collect time extensions and power ups. Another incentive for speed is that when you kill a bunch of enemies in a small amount of time, you go into a rage and deal more damage. Every enemy has a headshot hitbox and it's so satisfying to whip the heads of 5 enemies off in a row during rage. Plus, the pixel art's quite nice. Let it be known, Adult Swim publishes great games. Also, if the title wasn't enough to entice you at least, what's wrong with you? That's good. Super Flail is an arcadey high score game where you're a skull with a flail fighting other skulls that slam into you or shoot you. For me, the strong point of this one is like that tactile feel of swinging the flail behind you. The weight and momentum is interesting to play with and it feels real good. However, it is very difficult. I'm bad at it and I've never seen the boss. That being said, I have had a lot of fun with the limited amount of game that I can see with my skill level. And if you like competing for a high score, you should probably play it. Westerato, where to start? Maybe up the top of my list for favorite game. I love it so much. Have you ever wanted to play a Western murder mystery? Do you like open world games where you can kind of do whatever? Do you like poker? If any of you answered yes to any of these, Westerato might be for you. Westerato is a game where your brother's killed and you have to find whoever killed him by completing tasks for people. There's so many tasks to do. You can hunt down criminals for the sheriff, you can work for an oil tycoon and kill ranchers, or you can even take over a military base. It's up to you. Another core mechanic is that you can pull a gun and shoot anybody, and I mean anybody. Bandits, vultures, buffalo, army captain, even your uncle. You have to do it sometimes. To get a job with the oil tycoon, you have to start talking to him and then pull out a gun on him. It's real cool. It's a cool mechanic, and they use it in some cool ways. There's even an expansive cave system that takes up like half the map. There are 3 unlockable characters and a bunch of quests to find. So if you can get past the generally kind of weird western setting that makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, then you should try this game out. Vagant is the best platformer roguelike the genre has to offer. Spelunky pales in comparison. Actually, it's a pretty good jumping off point to explain this. Vagant is Spelunky if Spelunky were more like a traditional roguelike. It has an inventory system with different types of weapons. It has potions and scrolls whose effects are hidden unless you use or identify it first. It has 5 distinct classes with upgrades for each. And as a fan of both traditional roguelikes and new age roguelikes, it's a fusion that's greatly appreciated. It does need more light though. It is a very dark game. And I don't mean subject matter, I mean like you can't see things a lot of the time. Valhalla is a game where you play as a bartender. It's mostly like a standard visual novel where you talk to a bunch of colorful characters, although it has sections where you mix drinks, and there's one part where you just sit on the porch with your boss and drink beer, and it's kind of cool. Even though I only got a little bit past the first chapter, it has some amazing moments. The best of which for me being at the end, where I just said you sit down with your boss and just chill and just talk. It gets really into developing your character, and even though it's been a while since I've delved deep into it, I think about that section pretty regularly. I'm definitely going to pick it up again before the world goes back to normal. Samurai Gun is a masterful party game where you're, well, a samurai with a gun. You've got a sword and 3 gunshots per life. Honestly, there's not much more I can say about that. That pitch is really simple. Give it a look. You can turn the blood into flower petals. It's so good. Walkie Talkie is a game where all the levels are a series of characters. There's not much more to it than that. Each character is a certain color, and each color has a different function. Black characters are just basic platforms, red characters kill you, blue characters are moving platforms, yellow characters disappear in the order of what number it is. It's a really novel concept with some pretty good platforming. Noida is yet another roguelike. This time, it's a powder box game too. Everything on screen is a substance with different densities and effects on you. There are a bunch of different liquids that do a bunch of different things too. Blood increases your critical chance, worm pheromone attracts dangerous giant worms. In addition to this, there's a whole spell system. Throughout the levels, you get wands with different conditions, and in between levels, you can change the spells are on which wands to make cool combos. There's so much depth to uncover in this game, I haven't even scratched the surface. There's an entire overworld apart from the main game. There's an entire alchemy system where you can just make infinite gold, pretty much. It's so much to find, so much to uncover. It's so good, so great. And finally, Shuriken's a small little Metroidvania. I can't speak for the people who are already immersed in Metroidvanias, but if you're like me and you haven't really pierced that genre except Hollow Knight kind of, this game might be for you. The core mechanic is about throwing your little shuriken weapon and then going to pick it up. It's the first game that actually made me understand why people like Metroidvania so much. I didn't beat it, it's hard, but it's fun. So, those are my games you should try out. I implore you to at least check out one of them if you're into games. All of them have at least something to offer, and I really hope you enjoy them. Talk to you guys later. Bye.